At a celebratory dinner in our new house, my son raised a toast. To my wife, who is moving in here tomorrow. My daughter-in-law sat there, smiling with pure satisfaction. I smiled too. And I pressed play on my cell phone. The recording of that conversation made my daughter-in-law stand up from the table and run out. But let me tell you from the beginning how I arrived at that moment. How a 64-year-old woman, who had just lost her husband, ended up secretly recording her daughter-in-law's conversations, and how that recording destroyed the mask of the most manipulative person I have ever known in my life. My name is Eleanor. 8 months ago, I buried Arthur, the love of my life, my partner of 40 years. A massive heart attack while he was watering the roses in the garden. 1 second he was there, whistling as always. The next, he was gone. Losing him was that brutal. The life insurance that Arthur had paid religiously for 20 years arrived 2 months later. $200,000. I cried when I saw that check. It was not just money. It was the last time my husband would take care of me. The last time he kept his promise that I would never lack for anything. I decided to buy a house. A small, modest one, but mine. $150,000 for a place to start over, where I did not have to see his empty chair every morning, where I would not hear his phantom footsteps in the hallway every night. I needed that. I needed to be able to breathe without every corner reminding me of what I had lost. The house had 2 bedrooms, a perfect little backyard to plant roses, and a kitchen with big windows that let the sun in. Nothing fancy, nothing ostentatious. Just a warm space where a widow could try to rebuild her life piece by piece. I signed the papers on a Tuesday in March. When the keys fell into my hand, I felt something I had not felt since the funeral. Hope, small, fragile, but it was there. I told my son Daniel that same afternoon, my only son, the boy I raised alone for years while Arthur worked double shifts, the man I swore to protect until my last breath. I expected him to be happy. I expected a hug. I expected him to say, "I am happy for you, Mom. You deserve it." Instead, his face hardened. "You bought a house." His tone was not one of surprise. It was annoyance. "Yes, honey. A cute little cottage where I will be able to start over. It has a small yard where I can plant the roses I like so much and—" "Mom," he interrupted me, "don't you think that was a little rushed? You could have consulted us." Us. That word hit me like a bucket of ice water. Us. As if my life, my money, my future needed the approval of someone else. "It is my money, Daniel. The insurance your father left for me." "I know, Mom. But we are family. These decisions are discussed." Behind him, on the sofa, was Jessica, my daughter-in-law, my son's wife for 3 years. She said nothing. She just looked at me with those cold, calculating eyes, and that small smirk at the corner of her lips, as if she were enjoying seeing me uncomfortable. That was the first time I felt that something was very wrong. Jessica entered our lives like a hurricane. Daniel met her at work and fell in love in a matter of weeks. She is incredible, Mom. She is intelligent, ambitious. She knows what she wants. He said it with that shine in his eyes that men have when they are completely blind. When I met her, I understood the ambitious part. She arrived at our house in a very expensive green dress, high heels, and that way of speaking that makes you feel small without saying anything offensive. "So you are Eleanor. Daniel has told me so much." She extended her hand as if she were doing me a favor. Not a hug, not a kiss on the cheek, a cold and firm hand. Arthur was by my side. I felt him tense up. That night, after they left, he told me, "That girl has something strange about her, Ellie. I do not like how she looks at you." I downplayed it. Daniel loved her. Who was I to judge? But Arthur was right. He was always right. The visits to our house became uncomfortable. Jessica would arrive and start making comments about the old furniture, about the outdated decoration, about how it smelled musty in the bathroom. I do not mean it with bad intentions, Eleanor. It is just that sometimes one gets used to it and does not notice. Eleanor. Not even Mom or Mrs. Davis, just Eleanor, but said in a way that sounded like a label, not a person. Daniel never said anything. He laughed nervously. He changed the subject. He looked at me as if asking me not to make a scene, and I swallowed it. I swallowed it because I did not want to be the problematic mother-in-law, the one who causes conflicts, the one who drives the son away from his wife. I swallowed it because I thought it would improve with time. How naive I was. When Arthur died, Jessica did not cry at the funeral. Not a single tear. She stood next to Daniel with a face of boredom, checking her cell phone every 5 minutes. At the wake, while I received condolences, devastated, she was in a corner complaining that it was hot. I do not understand why these places do not have decent air conditioning, she told a cousin of Arthur's. A week after the burial, she appeared at my house with Daniel. "Mom, we came to see how you are." Jessica scanned the living room with her gaze. She touched the furniture. Opened drawers. "This house is big for a single person. Don't you think, Eleanor?" I did not answer. "Daniel and I have been thinking. Maybe you could sell. Invest that money. Move to a smaller place, more manageable." Daniel nodded. "She is right. Mom, this is a lot for you alone." That is where it all started. The suggestions, the unsolicited advice, the visits where they inspected every corner like appraisers. And I, in my grief, in my recent widowhood, did not realize what they were doing. I did not realize that they already had a plan. When I told them that I had bought the new house, Jessica's reaction was immediate. $150,000. Her voice went up an octave. On a house. She put her hand to her chest as if she were having a heart attack. "Eleanor, did it not occur to you that you could have invested that money? Buy stocks? Put it in a retirement fund? It is my money, Jessica." "Yes, but it is just that. Daniel, say something. Your mother just threw away $150,000 on a property that probably needs repairs." Daniel looked at me uncomfortably. "Mom, she is just saying that maybe you could have waited. Planned better. Planned better." As if I, at 64 years old, after 40 years of marriage, did not know how to manage my own money. "It is done," I said. "I signed the papers yesterday." Jessica let out a dry laugh. "Well, I hope at least it is a good investment." She got up from the sofa. "Daniel, let's go. I have things to do." Before leaving, she turned around. "When you move, Eleanor, let us know if you need help. Although honestly, I do not know why you need 2 bedrooms living alone." She closed the door with more force than necessary. I stood there in my empty living room, feeling that something had just changed, that she had just crossed an invisible line that I did not know existed. The following weeks were a nightmare disguised as family concern. Jessica called every day. "Eleanor, have you thought about the maintenance costs? A house is a lot of work for a woman your age. Eleanor, did you check the neighborhood well? Make sure it is not dangerous. Eleanor, what if something happens to you there alone? Who is going to help you?" Each question was a drop of poison. Each call left me more anxious, more insecure. I started to question myself. Had it been a bad decision? Was I being impulsive? What if she was right? Daniel started too. "Mom, Jessica is worried about you. She says a house is a lot of responsibility. Mom, would it not be better if you lived closer to us? Just in case." "Mom, you are being very stubborn. We only want the best for you." The worst part was not what they said. It was that they said it as if they cared, as if they were really worried about my well-being. But I saw something else in Jessica's eyes. Something cold, something calculating. I decided to move as fast as possible before they convinced me that I was making a mistake. On moving day, Jessica and Daniel showed up without notice. "We came to help," Daniel said, carrying a box. Jessica entered behind him with that fake smile I already knew so well. She toured the entire house, opened doors, checked the closets, measured the rooms with her eyes. "It is okay for what you paid," she finally said. "Although that bathroom needs urgent remodeling. And the kitchen is ancient." I said nothing. I just kept unpacking. "This room is big." She pointed to the master bedroom. "Why do you want it so big if you sleep alone?" "It is my bedroom, Jessica." "Yes, sure. I am just saying there is a lot of wasted space." She peeked into the second room. "And this one? A guest room. I thought about putting my sewing studio there." "Oh, Eleanor, do you still sew? With the eyesight you must have at your age." Each comment was a small stab, nothing big enough to complain about, nothing obvious enough for Daniel to intervene. just constant little blows designed to make me feel old, useless, in the way. That night, after they left, I sat in my new living room and cried, not from sadness, from rage, from helplessness, because I did not know how to defend myself from someone who attacked with smiles. The visits became more frequent. Jessica appeared without warning. I was passing by and said, "Let me see how Eleanor is." She always brought something, a cake, flowers, a coffee, but it was never a gift. It was an excuse to enter, to inspect, to criticize. "Oh, Eleanor, you have not fixed that water stain. Eleanor, that garden needs work, it looks neglected. Eleanor, why don't you change these furniture pieces? They are very old." One day she arrived with Daniel and a woman she introduced as an interior designer. "I thought you would like a free consultation. My friend Ashley is an expert." I had not asked for any consultation. Ashley toured my house, taking notes. "It definitely needs a complete renovation. The floors, the walls, the kitchen. We are talking about $50,000 minimum. $50,000. Coincidentally, almost everything I had left from Arthur's insurance. "I do not have that money," I said firmly. Jessica sighed. "That is why I told you buying this house was a mistake, Eleanor. Now you are trapped with a property that needs money you do not have." Daniel looked at me with pity. That look hurt me more than any comment from Jessica. My own son looked at me as if I were a confused old woman who had made a bad decision. "Thanks for coming, Ashley," I said. "But I do not need renovations." Jessica laughed. "Eleanor, yes you do. This house is falling apart. It is my house, and it is fine as it is." Okay. Do not get mad. We only wanted to help, but it was not help. It was another tactic, another attempt to make me feel I had committed an unforgivable mistake. I started avoiding their calls, inventing excuses when they wanted to visit me. I needed space. I needed peace. I needed to enjoy my house without someone constantly telling me everything that was wrong with it. But Jessica did not give up easily. The calls became more insistent, the messages more frequent. "Eleanor, are you okay? You are not answering. Eleanor, Daniel is worried. Call us. Eleanor, if you do not answer, we are going to go to your house." It was exhausting, like having a shadow I could not shake off. One afternoon, I was in the garden planting roses when I heard the door open. No one had knocked. She simply walked in. "Eleanor, are you here?" Jessica appeared in the garden with Daniel behind her. "We have called you 1,000 times. Why don't you answer?" "I was busy." "Busy." Jessica crossed her arms. "Daniel, your mother is avoiding us. Mom, what is wrong? Why aren't you answering our calls? I need my space." Jessica let out a laugh. "Space? You live alone in a 2-bedroom house. How much more space do you need?" I got up from the garden, shaking the dirt off my hands. "Jessica, I appreciate your concern, but it is not concern, Eleanor. It is family. Daniel is your only son. I am his wife. We are the only thing you have, the only thing I have." As if without them I was nothing. As if my entire life depended on their unwanted visits and poisonous comments. "I think you should leave." "Leave?" Jessica looked at me in disbelief. "Daniel, your mother is kicking us out of her house." "Mom, I need to rest, please." Daniel looked devastated. Jessica looked furious. They left without saying more. But I knew this would not end here. I knew that look in Jessica's eyes. It was not defeat. It was the beginning of something worse. 3 days after kicking them out of my house, Daniel appeared alone. It was early in the morning. He knocked on the door with those soft knocks I would recognize anywhere. The same knocks from when he was a boy and came to wake me up on Sundays. I opened, hoping to see my son. What I saw was a stranger with my son's face. "Mom, we have to talk." He walked in without waiting for an invitation. He sat on my sofa with that tense posture that meant he came prepared with a speech. "Jessica is very hurt, Daniel." "No, Mom. Let me finish. My wife has only tried to help you. She has been worried about you since Dad died, and you treat her like she is your enemy." I felt something break inside me. Help me? Calling that help? Yes, Mom, help. Because someone has to tell you the truths you do not want to hear. What truths? That you bought this house on impulse? That you spent almost all of Dad's money on a property you do not need? That you are alone and stubborn and do not accept when people who love you try to guide you? Each word was a hammer. Each sentence made me smaller. This was my son, the boy I nursed, the boy I healed when he was sick, the man I swore to protect always. And now he was here repeating his wife's words to me as if they were universal truths. Daniel, this is my life, my money, my decision. Mom, you are 64 years old. You cannot keep acting like you know everything. 64 years old. He said it as if it were a sentence, as if my age automatically invalidated me. Your father would have wanted me to be happy. My father would have wanted you to be sensible. For you to listen to your family. He got up from the sofa. Jessica and I have been thinking. This house is too much for you. The expenses, the maintenance, everything. It would be better if... He stopped, as if measuring his words. If what, Daniel? So that you are not alone. There it was. Finally, he had said it. The true motive of all the visits, of all the comments, of all the constant pressure. They wanted my house. No. Mom, be reasonable. I said no. Why are you so difficult? Why can't you accept help? Because this is not help, Daniel. It is control. His face hardened. You know what, Mom? Do whatever you want. Stay here alone in your house that is falling apart. But do not come crying when things get difficult. He left, slamming the door. I stood there trembling, not from fear, from fury. Because I had just understood something. Jessica did not just want my house. She wanted me to feel so small, so incapable, so defeated, that I would hand it over voluntarily. That night I did not sleep. I tossed and turned in bed thinking about everything, about the constant calls, about the unannounced visits, about the poisoned comments, about how every interaction was designed to make me doubt myself. At 3 a.m, I made a decision. If Jessica wanted to play dirty, I was going to protect myself. The next morning I went to an electronics store. I need a small recorder, I told the salesman. For lectures, for conversations. He sold me one the size of a lighter. He showed me how to use it, how to hide the microphone, how to download the files. It is legal to record conversations where you are present, he explained, as long as it is part of the conversation. I paid in cash. I returned home with my little secret weapon. I did not know if I would use it. I did not know if I would ever need it. But something told me yes, that this was just beginning. I was not wrong. 2 days later, Jessica appeared, alone this time. She knocked on the door with that insistence I already knew. Eleanor, open up. I know you are there. I activated the recorder in my pocket before opening. Jessica, we need to talk. Really? She entered, pushing me gently. She sat on my sofa as if it were her house. Daniel told me about your conversation, I imagine. Look, Eleanor, I know you think I am the bad guy here, but you are wrong. I only want the best for my husband. And the best for my husband is that his mother does not ruin herself financially by being proud. I am not ruining myself. Oh no. How much do you have left from the insurance? 10,000? 15,000? And how long do you think you are going to last with that? I did not answer. She smiled. That smile that did not reach her eyes. Exactly. That is why Daniel and I want to help you. Move in here. Share expenses. Make your life easier. I do not need you to move in here. Eleanor, I am not asking for permission. I am notifying you. Daniel is your son. He has the right to be in his mother's house. This is not my son's house. It is my house. Jessica leaned forward. Her voice lowered. It became harder. Listen to me well, old woman. You are going to accept that we move in here. Because if not, I am going to make Daniel stop talking to you. I am going to convince him that you are senile, that you need psychiatric help, that you are a danger to yourself. My heart was beating so fast I thought she would hear it. You would not dare. Oh no, I am already doing it. Why do you think Daniel spoke to you like that the other day? Because I showed him how irrational you are being, how stubborn, how impossible. She got up, smoothing her green dress. You have a week to think about it. Either we move in on good terms, or we move in after a judge declares that you cannot take care of yourself. She left, leaving the door open. I stood there, with the recorder still running in my pocket, and I knew I had made the right decision, because this woman was not going to stop. Not until she had everything she wanted. I listened to the recording 3 times that night. Her voice sounded clear, perfect. Every threat was registered. I'm going to convince him that you are senile. A judge declares that you cannot take care of yourself. I had the proof, but what good was it to me? If I showed it to Daniel now, he would say I was taking things out of context, that Jessica was just frustrated, that I had provoked her. I needed more. I needed Jessica to get so confident that she would tell the whole truth, that she would reveal her entire plan without filters. So I waited. I let her believe she had won. I let her think she had scared me. 3 days later, I sent a message to Daniel. We can talk about the move. His answer was immediate. Mom, I knew you would come to your senses. Jessica is going to be so happy. I turned off the phone feeling nauseous, but I had to do it. I had to let them believe they had won, because only then would they lower their guard. Only then would Jessica say out loud what she really planned to do with me. The meeting to plan the move was at a restaurant. Jessica insisted. So we can talk on neutral ground, Eleanor. I arrived with the recorder hidden in my jacket pocket. They were already there. Jessica in a bright red dress that screamed victory. Daniel, with that relieved smile of someone who believes his mother has finally come to reason. Mom, thanks for coming. Daniel hugged me. He smelled like the same cologne his father used. It almost made me cry. Sit down, Eleanor. Jessica pointed to the chair opposite her, as if she were the hostess, as if I were the guest. We ordered for you. I hope you like the salad. I did not like the salad. She knew it, but I said nothing. I sat down. I smiled. I acted like the defeated old woman she expected to see. Well, Jessica took out a notebook. A notebook? As if this were a business meeting. Let's talk about the details. What details? Of the move, Eleanor. Of how we are going to organize everything. She opened the notebook showing diagrams. She had drawn the floor plan of my house, with notes, with arrows, with room distributions. The master bedroom will obviously be for Daniel and me. It is the largest and has its own bathroom. You can keep the back room. It is smaller but enough for a single person. I stared at that drawing. My house, my space, already distributed without my consent. The living room needs new furniture. Yours is very old. We are going to donate it. Jessica, Eleanor, let me finish. The kitchen also needs renovation. Daniel and I are going to pay for that, because frankly cooking there in those conditions is impossible. Daniel nodded to everything, like a trained dog. Mom, she is right. If we are going to live all together, improvements have to be made. With what money? With yours, Eleanor. You still have about $50,000 from the insurance, right? That is perfectly enough to remodel the kitchen and buy decent furniture. $50,000, my last savings. What remained of Arthur's love, and she already had it counted. She already had it spent. I don't know if... Eleanor, do not be difficult. You already accepted that we move in. Now accept that things have to be done right. Her tone was no longer sweet. She was no longer pretending. It was a direct order. When do you plan to move? In 2 weeks. That way we have time to renovate before bringing our things. 2 weeks. 14 days before losing my house, my space, my life. There is another thing. Jessica closed the notebook. She leaned forward with that smile that already gave me nightmares. Daniel and I have been thinking about the future. About your future, Eleanor. My future. Yes, you are 64 years old. You are not sick now, but you never know. It would be good if you put the house in Daniel's name. You know, to avoid legal problems if something happens to you. There it was, the real plan. They didn't just want to live in my house. They wanted to own it. I am not going to do that. Mom, Daniel took my hand. It is just a precaution, to protect you. Protect me from what? From inheritance taxes, from complicated paperwork. If the house is already in my name? When you... He stopped. When I die? Don't say that, Mom. But yes, when the time comes, everything will be easier. Jessica kept smiling. Besides, Eleanor, technically Daniel has a right. He is your only son, your only heir. Why wait? Give him the house now that you can. Because it is my house? My voice came out stronger than I expected. Some people at nearby tables turned around. Lower your voice. Mom, you are making a scene. I am not going to put my house in anyone's name. Jessica stopped smiling. Her eyes turned hard as stones. Daniel, your mother is being impossible again. Mom, please, we are just trying to plan things well. Plan? Or take everything I have away from me? Nobody is taking anything away from you. God, why are you so paranoid? Jessica got up from the table. You know what, Eleanor? Do whatever you want with the house, but we are going to move in anyway. In 2 weeks we will be there. And if you do not open the door, Daniel has a legal right to enter. He is your son. He can go to his mother's house whenever he wants. She went to the bathroom, leaving me alone with Daniel. Mom, why do you make her angry? Daniel, don't you see what she is doing? She is trying to help us. Both of us. All 3 of us. She is trying to keep my house. You are paranoid. Jessica is right. Maybe you do need professional help. Those words cut me deeper than any insult. My own son suggesting I was crazy, that I needed a psychiatrist, that I couldn't trust my own judgment. Jessica returned from the bathroom. Are you done talking? Yes. Daniel stood up. Mom needs time to process everything. Sure. Jessica looked at me with that fake pity I already knew. Take your time, Eleanor. But remember, 2 weeks. We move in with your blessing or without it. They left, leaving me with the bill. I stayed there, sitting in front of that salad I hadn't touched, feeling the walls closing in around me. But the recorder in my pocket was still running. It had captured everything, every threat, every admission, every calculated word. I already had 2 conversations recorded, but it still wasn't enough. I needed Jessica to say everything, without filters, without disguises. I needed her to reveal exactly what she planned to do to me once she was living in my house. Once she had total control. So I made another risky decision. I called Jessica the next day. You are right. I am going to put the house in Daniel's name. Silence on the other end. Then laughter. Eleanor, I knew you would come to your senses, but I need help with the papers. Can you come tomorrow to explain to me how it works? Of course, I'll come at 1. Alone. So we can talk calmly, woman to woman. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. I spent the whole night preparing. I placed the recorder in a spot where it would capture everything. I rehearsed how to act, how to play the confused one, the defeated one, the old woman who had finally accepted her place. Jessica arrived on time. She carried a folder full of papers. Eleanor, I am so proud of you. You are finally making intelligent decisions. She sat on my sofa taking out documents. Look, here is the form for property transfer. It is simple. You just sign here, here, and here. And what happens to me? Where do I live? Here, Eleanor, in your little room. Nobody is kicking you out. Little room. She didn't even call it a bedroom anymore. But the house will belong to Daniel. Technically, yes, but you can stay as long as you want. She leaned forward with that shark smile. Well, as long as you behave. What does that mean? It means this is going to be my house, Eleanor. My rules, my space. If you want to stay, you are going to have to respect that. I understand. Truly. Jessica relaxed. She settled into the sofa as if it were already hers. Because I need you to understand something. Daniel is my husband. I am his priority, not you. If there is a conflict between what you want and what I want, he is going to choose me. Always. I know. Good. Because I am not going to tolerate you being the meddling mother-in-law who causes problems. You are going to stay in your room. You are going to cook when I ask you to. You are going to help with the cleaning. You are going to be useful, or you are going to be a nuisance. And nuisances eventually get eliminated. The recorder was capturing every word, every threat, every revelation of who she really was. Eliminated. Do not play dumb, Eleanor. If it doesn't work out with you living here, we are going to look for alternatives. A nursing home, a senior residence. There are very good places where they take care of people your age. I do not want to go to a nursing home. Then behave. Do what I tell you, and everything is going to be perfect. She smiled. Now sign these papers. I took the pen she offered me. I held it over the paper. My hand was trembling. It wasn't acting. It was pure, contained rage. Here. Yes, Eleanor. Right there. Jessica was practically salivating. I could see the victory in her eyes. Absolute triumph. I brought the pen close to the paper. The tip touched the dotted line. Then I let it drop. I can't. What? I can't sign. Not yet. I need to think about it. Jessica's face transformed. The mask of kindness fell completely. You are playing me, you stupid old woman. I just need more time. There is no more time. She got up from the sofa, furious. You know what? I have had it with you. Sick of your nonsense. Sick of your attitude. Sick of pretending I care about you. She started pacing my living room like a caged animal. From the first day I met Daniel, I knew you were going to be a problem. A clingy, needy mother-in-law who was never going to let go of her son. I never. Shut up. I am talking. She pointed her finger at me. When Arthur died, I thought, perfect. Now the old woman is going to be alone, vulnerable, easy to handle. Daniel was going to be completely mine without that father who always filled him with stupid ideas about respect and family. Mentioning Arthur like that made me clench my fists. But I let her continue. I needed her to say everything. Then I found out about the insurance. $200,000. And I thought, this is perfect. That idiot doesn't know how to handle money. I am going to convince Daniel that we should help her invest. We are going to take control of that money. But I bought the house. Yes, you bought the damn house. Without consulting us. Without asking our permission. As if you mattered. As if your decisions mattered. She laughed without humor. But it's fine. I thought, if I can't have the money, I am going to have the house. Jessica walked toward me. She leaned in until her face was inches from mine. I could smell her expensive perfume, see the pure hatred in her eyes. You are going to sign those papers, old woman. Today, tomorrow, or next week. I do not care. Because I have your son in my pocket. He does what I say. He believes what I tell him to believe. If I tell him you are crazy, he believes me. If I tell him you need a nursing home, he signs the papers. Daniel would not do that. Oh, no. He is already doing it. Stupid. Who do you think spoke to a lawyer about your mental competence? Who do you think already has appointments with psychiatrists to evaluate you? Daniel, your beloved son. Because I asked him to. I felt the floor move beneath me. You are lying. Do you want to bet? Ask him. Ask him about Dr. Ramirez. About the appointment he has scheduled for you in 2 weeks. About the papers he is already preparing to declare you incapable of managing your own affairs. She straightened up, smoothing her dress. So you can sign the easy way. Or I can have you declared senile and take everything from you anyway. You choose. Why? Why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you, Eleanor. I simply don't care about you. You are an obstacle between me and the life I deserve. A comfortable life. With a paid-off house. Without financial worries. Without an annoying mother-in-law breathing down my neck. She walked toward the door. Think about it well, but think fast. Because I am moving in here in 2 weeks whether you want it or not, and if you haven't signed by then, things are going to get very ugly for you. She left, leaving the door open, leaving the papers scattered on my table, leaving me with a shattered heart and a full recorder. I stayed sitting on that sofa for hours. I listened to the entire recording. Every threat, every admission, every cruel word. I had everything, irrefutable proof of who Jessica really was, of what she planned to do, of how she had manipulated my son. But more than triumph, I felt pain, because a part of me still could not believe that Daniel was involved in this, that my son, my baby, had spoken with lawyers about declaring me incapable. That night I did not sleep. I sat in the darkness of my living room thinking about everything. About 40 years with Arthur. About raising Daniel alone while Arthur worked. About the sacrifices. About the love. About how all of that could disappear because of a manipulative woman. At 6 in the morning I picked up the phone. I called Daniel. Mom, it's 6. His voice sounded sleepy. I need to talk to you. It is true about Dr. Ramirez. Silence. A long, heavy silence that told me everything I needed to know. Mom, how did you know about that? It is true. Jessica thought it would be good for you to talk to someone. Just to rule out that I am crazy? That you are going through something difficult? Grief can affect people's judgment. I closed my eyes. My own son. And the mental incompetency papers. Mom, they are just precautions. Just in case. Just in case you need to take everything from me legally. It is not like that. You are misinterpreting things. Daniel, do you love me? What kind of question is that? Of course I do. Then come to my house. Just you. Without Jessica. I need to show you something. Mom, I can't go without my wife. She is part of my life. Please, just this once. Give me a chance to explain something. I heard voices in the background. Jessica had woken up. She was asking who he was talking to. I can't, Mom. Jessica says you are trying to manipulate me. To separate us. Daniel, I have to hang up. We'll talk later. The line went dead. I stood there with the phone in my hand, feeling my son drifting further and further away. How Jessica had built a wall between us, so high that I could no longer see the other side. But I was not going to give up. Not yet. I had the recordings. I had the proof. I just needed the right moment to use them. The moment where Jessica could not escape, where Daniel could not deny the truth, where everyone would see who that woman really was. I spent the next few days planning. Jessica had said she was moving in 2 weeks. Perfect. I was going to let her believe she had won. I was going to let her get completely confident. And then I was going to expose everything in front of witnesses, in front of family, in front of people who could not ignore the truth. The idea came one night while looking at old photos. Photos from when Daniel was a boy, of birthdays, of family celebrations. We had always been a family that celebrated everything, that gathered around the table to share food and laughter. Why not one last celebration? A housewarming dinner for the new house. An opportunity to gather everyone before Jessica and Daniel officially moved in. I could invite my sister Patricia, Daniel's cousins, close family friends, witnesses, people who knew Arthur, who knew me, who could not ignore the truth when they heard it. I called Daniel the next morning. I want to have a dinner, a celebration before you move. Mom, I have thought it over better. You are right. We are family. We should celebrate this together. I could hear the surprise in his voice. Are you sure? Yes. Invite whoever you want. I will invite the family. Let's do this right. Wait. I am going to tell Jessica. Voices in the background. Then Jessica took the phone. Eleanor, what are you planning? Nothing. I just want to do things right. Like you said, I don't believe you. Jessica, if we are going to live together, let's start on the right foot. A family dinner, like the ones before. Silence. I could feel her thinking, calculating. That is fine, but no drama, no scenes. Just a dinner. On Saturday. Does that sound good? Perfect. Her voice sounded triumphant. We will be there. And, Eleanor, this time you really are going to sign those papers. Whatever you say, Jessica. I hung up feeling for the first time in weeks something resembling hope. It was not victory yet. But it was a plan to recover my life, my house, my dignity. I spent the next few days preparing everything. I cleaned the house until it shined. I bought food for a beautiful dinner. I sent invitations to my sister, Patricia, to my cousins, to Arthur's closest friends. Everyone confirmed. Everyone asked if I was okay. Everyone said they would be there. I configured my phone so the recording would play with just the touch of a button. I practiced the moment again and again. The timing had to be perfect. Jessica could not escape before everyone heard. She could not invent excuses. She could not manipulate the situation. The night before the dinner, I barely slept. I checked everything 100 times. The recorder, the phone. The Bluetooth speaker I had connected so everyone could hear clearly. Everything had to work perfectly, because I would only have one chance. One single chance to show the truth. To save my house. To get my son back. Saturday dawned, sunny. As if the universe were on my side. I dressed in my best clothes. I put on makeup. I did my hair. I needed to look strong, confident. Not like the defeated old woman Jessica expected. The guests started arriving at 6. Patricia was the first. Eleanor, you look beautiful. Are you okay? Your call worried me. I am going to be fine, sister. Just trust me. The cousins arrived, the friends, all with the same look of concern, all asking if I was really okay with Daniel and his wife moving in with me. I told them yes, that everything was going to be fine, that they would understand soon. At 7 o'clock sharp, Daniel and Jessica arrived. She was wearing a spectacular green dress, perfect makeup, perfect smile, the image of the concerned and loving daughter-in-law. Eleanor, everything turned out so nice. She hugged me in front of everyone, a fake hug that made me want to vomit, but I smiled. I acted my part. The dinner went normally. Conversations, laughter, Jessica being charming with everyone, telling stories about how excited she was to move, about how much she wanted to take care of her mother-in-law. Daniel smiled proudly. My sister looked at me confused. I waited. I waited until everyone finished eating, until the room was silent, until all eyes were attentive. Then Daniel stood up with his glass. Daniel stood up with his glass of wine in his hand. Everyone stopped talking. All eyes turned toward him. My heart started beating so hard, I thought everyone would hear it. I want to make a toast, said my son with that radiant smile that broke my soul. Jessica looked at him with adoration. Or at least, that is what it seemed like. I knew the truth. Mom, I know the last few weeks have been difficult. I know there have been tensions, but I am so happy that we have finally reached an agreement. Patricia looked at me confused. I kept my expression neutral. That is why I want to toast to my wife, to Jessica, who is moving in here tomorrow, to this beautiful house, to help my mother, to take care of her, to make sure she is never alone. The words fell like bombs in the silence of the room. I saw the faces of my guests transform. Surprise, confusion, concern. Nobody raised their glass. Jessica was radiant, smiling as if she had just won the lottery. She leaned back in her chair with that absolute satisfaction drawn on every muscle of her face. She looked at me sideways, waiting for me to break, to cry, to beg. Instead of that, I smiled. I took my cell phone out of my pocket with hands that were trembling but decisive. I placed it on the table next to the Bluetooth speaker I had prepared. Before that toast, I said with a clear voice, I would like to share something with all of you. Jessica's smile wavered. Just a second. But I saw it. Mom, what are you doing? Daniel lowered his glass. Sharing the truth. I pressed play. Jessica's voice filled the room. Clear, sharp, unmistakable. Do not worry. As soon as we move in, the old woman will sleep in the back room. She won't even realize when we start making her sign papers. She is so naive. The silence was absolute. Everyone looked at the speaker as if it were a bomb. Jessica went pale. She tried to stand up, but Daniel stopped her with a hand on her shoulder, his expression frozen in shock. The recording continued. Every poisonous word Jessica had said in that phone conversation she believed was private. About how I was a nuisance. About how she was going to keep my house. About how Daniel was so easy to manipulate. He is an idiot. He believes everything I tell him. He doesn't even question when I tell him his mother is losing her mind. Daniel's face crumbled. He looked at his wife as if seeing her for the first time. Jessica. Daniel. I can explain. Shut up. His scream made everyone jump. I had never heard my son speak like that. I stopped the recording. But it was not over. There is more, I said. My hands were no longer trembling. My voice was firm, much more. I pressed play again. This time it was the conversation in the restaurant. Jessica talking about keeping my house, about the furniture she was going to throw away, about how I was going to live in the back room, following her rules. Patricia put her hand to her mouth. The cousins looked at Jessica with horror. Arthur's friends shook their heads in disbelief. Turn it off, whispered Jessica. Please, turn it off. Why? You didn't want everyone to know your plans. I let it continue. Every threat, every insult, every revelation of her true nature. Daniel stood completely motionless. Tears ran down his face. He looked at his wife as if she were a stranger. When the part arrived where Jessica admitted convincing Daniel to seek mental incompetency papers, my sister stood up from the table. You were going to declare your mother incapable, she screamed at Daniel. You were going to take everything from her. I didn't know. She told me it was to protect her. Lies. Patricia pointed at Jessica. This viper manipulated you into betraying your own mother. Finally, I played the last recording. The conversation in my living room, where Jessica had dropped all masks, where she had admitted she didn't hate me, she simply didn't care, where she had threatened to put me in a nursing home if I didn't obey, where she had revealed she only wanted my money and my house. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Jessica stood with her face completely red, not from shame, from fury. This is illegal. You cannot record me without my permission. It is completely legal to record conversations where I am present, I said calmly. I consulted with a lawyer. You set a trap for me. I gave you enough rope to hang yourself. I stood up, looking her straight in the eyes. Everything you said was true. Every word, every threat, every plan. And now everyone knows. Daniel collapsed into his chair. He had his head in his hands. How could I be so blind? Because she is good, I told him softly. She is very good at manipulating, but no more. Jessica looked at me with a hatred so pure it was scary. This doesn't end here, old woman. I'm leaving. You're going to what? Patricia stepped between us. Are you going to threaten her again? Go ahead. There are 20 witnesses here. Daniel's cousins, who had grown up with me, who knew Arthur, stood up, forming a barrier. I think it is time for you to leave, said my cousin Lucas. His voice was hard as stone. Jessica looked around, seeking support, looking for someone to defend her. Nobody spoke. Everyone looked at her with contempt, with disgust. With the truth finally exposed. Daniel, she said with a trembling voice. Daniel, my love, you have to believe me. Those recordings are taken out of context. I never. Get out. Daniel's voice sounded broken. Destroyed. Get out of here now. But, get out. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. I do not want to see you. I do not want to listen to you. I do not want anything from you. Jessica took a step toward him. Daniel recoiled as if she burned. It was all a lie, whispered my son. Everything, I love you. Every smile, every plan we made together. Everything was to get to this. No, Daniel, I do love you. You love my money. You love this house. You used me to get to my mother. His voice broke. You almost made me betray the woman who gave me life, who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me. You almost convinced me to take away her home, her dignity, her freedom. Tears flowed freely down his face. How could you? Jessica tried one last time. She approached him with hands extended. Daniel pushed her, not with force, just with enough firmness to make it clear he didn't want her near. If you do not leave now, I am calling the police. The voice belonged to Patricia. She had her cell phone in her hand. And I am showing them these recordings. I am sure threatening an older woman with declaring her incompetent to steal her property is some type of crime. Jessica looked at all of us, her perfect mask finally destroyed. She was no longer the charming daughter-in-law. She was a furious, exposed, defeated woman. She grabbed her purse from the chair. This is not going to stay like this. Yes, it is going to stay like this, I said. And if you try anything, these recordings go everywhere. To your job, to your family, to every person you know. She walked toward the door with stiff steps. Before leaving, she turned one last time. She looked at me with so much hatred I could almost feel it physically. You are a bitter old woman who is going to die alone, better alone than surrounded by vipers. She left, slamming the door. The sound resonated through the whole house. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Daniel broke. My son, my baby, collapsed to the floor, crying like a child. Deep sobs that shook his whole body. I ran to him. I knelt by his side, ignoring how my knees hurt. I hugged him like when he was little and had nightmares. Mom, I am so sorry, so sorry. Shh, it's over. I almost lost you. I almost let her take everything from you. How am I going to forgive myself? You are already forgiven. I caressed his hair. You are already forgiven. He clung to me as if I were his lifebuoy in the middle of the ocean. And maybe I was, because he had been drowning in Jessica's lies without even knowing it. Patricia approached. She put her hand on my shoulder. The others formed a circle around us. Family. True family. The one that holds you when you fall. The one that tells you the truth even if it hurts. The one that doesn't abandon you even if you make mistakes. "We are going to help you with the divorce," said Lucas. "I know an excellent lawyer. And we are going to make sure that woman keeps nothing," added Patricia. "Nothing of yours, Daniel, and definitely nothing of Eleanor's." My son kept crying in my arms, but now there was something else besides the pain. There was relief, as if he could finally breathe after being underwater for years. "How did you know?" he asked, wiping his face. "How did you know you had to record her?" "Because your father taught me something," I told him. "He taught me that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time." "She showed me who she was from the beginning," he whispered, "and I didn't want to see it. Love blinds us sometimes, but now you see clearly." I helped him stand up. My knees protested, but I didn't care. "And now what?" he asked, looking around the room full of people who truly loved him. "Now," I said, smiling for the first time in weeks with true joy, "now we live. You get divorced. I enjoy my house. And we both learn from this. I don't know if I can learn from something so—" "You learned that your mother is sharper than you thought," interrupted Patricia, making everyone laugh. Even Daniel cracked a small smile. "That is certainly true." The tension in the room began to dissolve. Someone suggested finishing dinner. Another proposed a real toast, a true one. Patricia raised her glass. "To Eleanor, to her bravery, for defending herself when many would have let her win." "To Eleanor," repeated everyone. The glasses clinked. The sound was like music, like freedom, like justice. Daniel hugged me tight. "I love you, Mom, and I am going to spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Just love me. Just be my son. That is enough." That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in my living room, in my house, my space that I had defended tooth and nail. I looked at Arthur's photo on the mantel. That smile I knew so well. Those eyes that always made me feel safe. "I did it, my love," I whispered. "I protected what we built together." I felt like he would have answered me, that he would be proud, that from wherever he was smiling. The following days were a whirlwind. Daniel moved to a hotel that same night. He didn't want to return to the apartment he shared with Jessica. He couldn't stand being in the same space where she had planned my destruction. "I need to process everything, Mom," he told me over the phone the next morning. His voice sounded tired, broken. "I need to understand how I was such an idiot." "You weren't an idiot. You were a man in love with a lie." The pain in his voice broke my heart. But it was a necessary pain. The kind of pain that cleanses, that purifies, that allows you to heal correctly instead of just covering the wound. Patricia practically moved in with me during those days. "I am not leaving you alone," she said, bringing her suitcase, "just in case that crazy woman tries something." But Jessica didn't try anything, at least not directly. The messages started on the second day, first to Daniel's phone, then to mine. "Daniel, please, let's talk. We can fix this. Eleanor, the recordings don't show everything. Let me explain. Daniel, I love you. I made mistakes, but we can overcome them. Eleanor, I am sorry. I was stressed. I didn't mean it seriously." We deleted them all without answering. Then came the calls, dozens of them, at all hours. Daniel blocked her number. I did the same. Then she appeared at Daniel's hotel. The manager had to remove her. She was screaming in the lobby that her husband had abandoned her, that I had manipulated him, that we were a family and we had to talk. The police almost arrested her for disturbing the peace. That night, Daniel came to my house trembling. "She is losing control," he said, sitting on my sofa. I had never seen her like this, because she had never lost before, I explained. People like Jessica do not know how to handle defeat. They cannot accept that their plan failed. "Do you think she is dangerous?" "I think she is unpredictable. And that is worse." I hired a security system the next day. Cameras at the door, sensors on the windows, an alarm connected directly to the police. I wasn't going to take risks, not after everything I had fought for. Daniel's lawyer, recommended by Lucas, was a serious man named Robert. He listened to the full recordings without interrupting. When they finished, he whistled softly. "This is gold. With this, she keeps nothing in the divorce." "I do not want anything from her," said Daniel. "I just want her to disappear from our lives." "She is going to fight," warned Robert. She is going to try to get money. She is going to say she deserves compensation. She is going to invent stories. Let her invent them. We have the truth. The divorce papers were filed a week later. Jessica's reaction was explosive. She hired the most expensive lawyer she could find, a guy named Jeremiah who had a reputation for being ruthless. The first hearing was a circus. Jeremiah argued that Daniel had abandoned his wife without cause, that Jessica was a devoted woman who only wanted to care for her mother-in-law, that the recordings were taken out of context. Robert destroyed him. He played the full recordings in front of the judge. Every word, every threat, every admission. The judge, an older woman named Judge Sullivan, listened to everything with an increasingly severe expression. When it finished, she looked at Jessica with something close to disgust. "Ma'am, do you have anything to say in your defense?" Jessica stood up. She had cried during the entire playback. Perfect tears that didn't ruin her makeup. "Your Honor, those conversations were in moments of stress. I was frustrated. I said things I didn't feel." "You are saying you didn't plan to keep your mother-in-law's house?" "I only wanted to help. I wanted us to live together as a family. Help by convincing her husband to declare his mother incompetent?" The judge's voice was hard as steel. "Help by threatening her with a nursing home if she didn't obey your orders?" "I never." "There are recordings, ma'am. Recordings where you yourself admit everything." Jessica looked at her lawyer seeking help. Jeremiah shrugged. There was no possible defense against recorded truth. "This divorce proceeds," declared the judge, "without compensation for the defendant, 0 alimony, 0 division of assets, and a permanent restraining order against Mrs. Eleanor Davis." The gavel fell. Jessica screamed, literally screamed in the courtroom. "This is unfair. I have rights." "You waived your rights when you attempted to commit fraud against an elderly woman," responded the judge. "Be grateful I am not charging you criminally." 2 guards had to escort her out while she kept screaming, promising revenge, swearing this wouldn't end like this. Daniel remained sitting on the bench long after everyone left, looking at his hands as if he didn't recognize them. "I was married to her for 3 years, he whispered. 3 years, sleeping next to a stranger. I sat next to him. You weren't the only one she fooled. She fooled everyone, but I should have seen it. I should have protected you, and you will from now on. That is the only future that matters." We left the courthouse into a sunny day. Patricia was waiting for us outside with coffee. "How did it go?" "We won," I said simply. "We won everything." She hugged me tight. "I knew you would do it, little sister. I knew that Viper wouldn't win." The following days brought a strange peace. Like after a storm, when the air smells different, when everything seems cleaner. Daniel started therapy. "I need to understand how I let myself be manipulated like that," he told me. "I need to make sure it never happens again." I also went to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I had carried so much weight for so long that I needed help to let it go. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Evans, told me something I will never forget. "Eleanor, what you did was extraordinary. You didn't just defend yourself. You defended yourself strategically, with intelligence, with patience. That requires immense strength. I didn't feel strong. I felt terrified. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite the fear." She was right. Every time I turned on that recorder, I had been afraid. Every time I let Jessica say those horrible things, I had wanted to scream at her. But I had held back. I had waited. I had planned. Jessica tried one last desperate move. She contacted a local journalist. She told a story about a cruel mother-in-law who had destroyed her marriage, about how she had been recorded illegally, about how her husband had abandoned her due to family pressures. The journalist, to his credit, did his homework. He contacted us to hear our side. We showed him the full recordings. We explained the context. We showed him the divorce documents. His article came out a week later. It was not what Jessica expected. "Woman attempts to defraud elderly mother-in-law. Exposed in recordings." The article detailed everything: the threats, the manipulation, the plans to keep my house. Jessica became toxic overnight. She lost her job. Her friends abandoned her. Her family, when they heard the recordings, distanced themselves. She tried to blame me. She posted on social media about how I had ruined her life, but nobody believed her. The recordings were too clear. The truth was too obvious. Eventually, she moved to another city. Daniel told me he had heard she lived with her mother, that she had to start from scratch. "Do you feel pity for her?" I asked him. "No," he answered without hesitation. "I feel pity for me, for the time I lost, for almost losing my mother. But for her, no, she made her choices." He was right. Jessica had chosen the path of manipulation, of deceit, of cruelty, and she had paid the consequences. Meanwhile, my life began to bloom in ways I didn't expect. The roses I had planted in the garden started to grow, small green buds that promised beautiful flowers. My sewing workshop in the second room became my refuge. I made quilts, clothes for the granddaughters I would someday have. I sewed while listening to music Arthur loved. Daniel started visiting me regularly, not out of obligation, not because he felt guilt, but because he wanted to. We drank coffee in the garden on Sundays. We talked about everything, about his job, about his dreams, about his healing. "I met someone," he told me one afternoon. 6 months had passed since the divorce. My heart tensed. "Yes, it isn't romantic. I am not ready for that yet. She is a friend. From the therapy group." "What is she like?" "She is real. That is the best I can say. She is genuine. There are no masks. There are no games." I smiled. "That sounds perfect." "She reminds me of you," he said, taking my hand. "She reminds me that good women exist, that not all are like Jessica. They never were, my love. You just had bad luck once. Once was enough." We sat in comfortable silence, the kind of silence that only exists between people who know each other deeply, who love each other unconditionally. Patricia organized a party to celebrate the first anniversary of my move, a full year in my house, a year defending it, a year of victory. She invited everyone who had been at that dinner, the cousins, Arthur's friends, all the people who had supported me when I needed it. "A toast," she said, raising her glass. "To my sister, to the bravest woman I know, to Eleanor," everyone repeated. The glasses clinked. The laughter filled my living room. My house, my space that I had fought so hard to protect. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my garden. The stars shone above. The roses perfumed the air. I could hear the crickets singing. I closed my eyes and thought about the whole journey, from Arthur's funeral to this moment, from the broken widow to the woman who had exposed her enemy. It had been painful. It had been terrifying, but it had been worth it. "We did it, Arthur," I whispered to the wind. "We protected our home," and I felt his presence, not in a ghostly or mystical way, but in the way the people we love are always present, in the memories, in the lessons they left us, in the strength they gave us to face what was coming. Autumn arrived, painting my garden in warm colors. The roses I had planted bloomed completely. Red, pink, yellow. Every morning I went out to water them, feeling a peace I hadn't known in years. Daniel healed slowly. I saw it in his eyes, in how his smile started reaching his eyes again, in how he spoke of the future without that crushing weight of betrayal. My therapist says, "I am progressing," he told me one afternoon while we drank tea in my kitchen. She says, "I have moved from denial to acceptance." And how does that feel? Liberating and terrifying, because now I have to rebuild who I am without her, without that version of me that was the manipulated husband. "You were more than that, Daniel. You were always more than that. But I lost so much time being that person. You didn't lose it. You invested it in learning, in growing, in becoming the man you are now." He took my hand across the table, his eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for not giving up on me, for fighting when I couldn't see why you should fight. You are my son. I would fight against the whole world for you. You almost had to," he laughed sadly. "I almost had to fight against you too, but we didn't get there. And that is what matters." Life began to establish a new normal, a quiet routine that filled me instead of emptying me. On Mondays I sewed. On Tuesdays Patricia came for lunch. On Wednesdays I went to the market. On Thursdays I visited Dr. Evans, my therapist. On Fridays Daniel came for dinner. The weekends were mine. To read, to garden, to simply exist without having to prove anything to anyone. One afternoon in October, while pruning my roses, I heard someone knock on the door. I wasn't expecting visitors. My first instinct was alarm. Jessica? But 8 months had passed. The restraining order was still in effect. I looked through the peephole. It was a young woman I didn't know. I opened, leaving the chain on. Yes, Mrs. Davis? Her voice was soft, shy. Yes. My name is Ashley. I am. I was a friend of Jessica. My body tensed. If you came to defend her. No, I am not coming for that, she rushed to say. I come to apologize. I didn't expect that. I took off the chain and opened the door completely. Apologize. Yes. I was the interior designer, the one she brought to your house to pressure you about renovations. I remembered her. The woman who had estimated $50,000 in repairs that my house didn't need. I remember you. I knew what she was doing. Jessica asked me to exaggerate the costs, to make her house sound like it was falling apart. I leaned against the doorframe. Why are you telling me this now? Because after everything came out, I couldn't sleep. I still can't. I was part of her plan to deceive you, to scare you and make you feel you had made a mistake buying this house. Ashley had tears in her eyes. My grandmother went through something similar. A niece tried to take her house, and I swore I would never let something like that happen to another elderly person. But I did it. I did it to you. Jessica paid you. No. We were friends, or so I thought. But after everything exploded, when I tried to talk to her, she blocked me. I realized she just used me too, like she used everyone. I opened the door wider. Do you want to come in? She was surprised. Are you sure? If you came to apologize for real, the least I can do is listen to you. I made coffee. We sat in my living room, the same one where I had played the recordings that destroyed Jessica's world. I didn't know how bad she was, said Ashley, holding her cup. I knew her competitive side, her ambition. But I thought she really loved Daniel, that she really cared about you in her own way. She only cared about herself. I know that now. After the article came out, other people started talking. Friends she had used, co-workers she had betrayed. I wasn't the only blind one. Ashley looked directly at me. But that doesn't excuse me. I participated in hurting an innocent woman, and I am very sorry. I could have hated her. I could have kicked her out of my house. But I saw something in her that I recognized. I saw someone who had been manipulated too. Differently, but manipulated nonetheless. I forgive you, I said, her eyes filled with tears. Really, really. Because forgiveness isn't for you, it's for me. To not carry more weight than necessary. I do not deserve your kindness. Probably not. But I am giving it anyway. Ashley left half an hour later, lighter, more at peace. And I felt lighter too, because I had discovered something important. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean letting people get away with it. It meant releasing the poison before it poisoned you too. November brought the first rains. I loved sitting by the window listening to the water hit the roof, reading books I had wanted to read for years, but never had time. Daniel met someone, for real this time, a woman named Sarah who worked in his office. She was divorced with 2 children, real, with wrinkles around her eyes when she smiled, with stories of pain and survival. You want to meet her? He asked me nervously. Are you ready for that? I think so, but I need your blessing. You always have my blessing, my love. Just promise me that this time you go with your eyes open, wide open, I promise. I met her a week later. Sarah arrived at my house with her 2 kids, an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. The children ran directly to my garden, fascinated with the roses. They are beautiful, I said, watching them play. They are my life, answered Sarah. Then she looked directly at me. Mrs. Davis, I know what happened with Daniel's ex-wife. He told me everything. My body tensed automatically. And I want you to know that I am not like that. I do not want your house. I do not want your money. I just want your son. If we ever get to that point, why are you telling me this? Because if it were my son, I would also be alert. I would also be suspicious. And you have every right. I liked her instantly. That direct honesty, that understanding of why I would be cautious. You love my son. It is still too soon for that word. But I like him a lot. I like how he is with my kids. I like how he talks about you. I like that he is in therapy working on himself. Then I wish you the best. Can I ask you something? I nodded. How did you know? How did you know you had to record Jessica? Because my husband taught me to trust my instinct, and my instinct screamed that something was wrong. I didn't ignore that voice this time. Sarah smiled. I hope to be as strong as you someday. You already are. You are raising 2 kids alone. There is nothing stronger than that. That afternoon, watching Daniel play with the kids in my garden, watching Sarah laugh at something Patricia said who had stopped by to say hello, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope, not just for me, but for the future. For the possibility that maybe, eventually, my house would fill with grandchildren's laughter, with real family dinners, with genuine love instead of disguised manipulation. December arrived with Christmas decorations. Patricia insisted we decorate together. It is your first Christmas truly in peace, she said, hanging lights in my living room. It has to be special. I invited Daniel, Sarah, and her kids for Christmas dinner. Patricia brought her whole family. Lucas and the other cousins came too. My little house filled with people, with noise, with life. While I prepared dinner, Sarah offered to help. You don't have to do it. I want to do it. Besides, I need to learn your recipes if I am going to impress Daniel. I smiled. Then it is serious. We are taking it slow. But yes, I think it could be. And he is good with your children. He is wonderful, patient, loving. Nothing like what he told me he was with Jessica. Jessica brought out the worst in him. You bring out the best. I hope to keep doing it. That night, after dinner, Daniel asked for everyone's attention. My heart raced. Another toast? More unexpected announcements? But when I saw his face, I saw only love. I want to make a toast, he said, raising his glass. Everyone went silent. A year ago, I was in this house making another toast. A toast that almost destroys the most important person in my life. Tears started running down his face. I was so blind, so manipulated, so lost. But my mother did not give up on me. She fought, not just for her house. She fought for me. To save me from myself. He looked directly at me. Mom, there are no words to thank you for what you did. You gave me back my life, my sanity, my ability to trust myself. You are the bravest, smartest, most incredible woman I know. He raised his glass higher. So I toast to you, to your strength, to your house that you defended tooth and nail, to your love that never gave up even when I failed you. To Eleanor, everyone shouted. The glasses clinked, the hugs flowed, and I, standing in the middle of my living room, surrounded by people who truly loved me, felt I had finally come home. Not just to the physical house I had bought, but to an emotional place where I was valued, respected, loved without conditions, where I no longer had to defend myself, where I could simply be. That night, long after everyone left, I sat in my garden under the stars. The Christmas lights shone softly. The roses slept in the winter cold, waiting for spring to bloom again. I thought about everything that had happened, about Arthur, about Jessica, about the recordings, about the revelation scene, about the divorce, about the healing. Thank you, I whispered to the universe. To Arthur, to myself. Thank you for the strength to fight. Thank you for the intelligence to win. Thank you for this life I built from the ashes. The wind blew gently, like an answer, like a blessing, like a promise that the best was still to come. Spring arrived, transforming my garden into a paradise of colors. The roses exploded in flowers more beautiful than ever, as if they knew they were finally in a place where they could grow without fear. I was blooming too. I had lost that constant weight in my chest, that anxiety that woke me up at 3 a.m, that feeling of being under permanent attack. For the first time since Arthur's death, I felt complete, not happy in the naive way I had been before, but happy in a deeper way, wiser, earned through fire. Daniel and Sarah got serious. He spent weekends with her and the kids. He told me stories about parks and movies and homemade dinners. It is so different, Mom, he told me one afternoon. With Jessica, everything was acting. expensive restaurants, brand name clothes, appearances. With Sarah, it is real. It is pizza on the living room floor watching cartoons. It is helping with homework. It is real life. That is real love, I told him. The kind that lasts. A year and a half after that revelation dinner, Daniel arrived at my house with a small box in his hand. I am going to ask her to marry me. My first instinct was panic, but I pushed it down. Are you sure? Surer than of anything in my life. I have been in therapy. I have worked on myself. I have learned the signs of manipulation. And Mom, she is not like that. She is genuine. She is honest. She is real. And her children. I love them as if they were mine. I want to be their stepfather. I want to give them the family they deserve. I hugged him tight. Then you have my blessing. Completely. Do you want to see the ring? He opened it, showing me a simple but beautiful ring. Not ostentatious. Not the type Jessica would have demanded. But delicate and meaningful. It is perfect. It belonged to Sarah's grandmother. Her mom gave it to me when I asked for permission. She said her grandmother would have wanted someone who loves truly to wear it. The proposal was in my garden. Daniel asked me to organize it here, because this place represents a new beginning. Overcoming. Love that survives anything. We decorated with lights and flowers. Patricia prepared snacks. Sarah's children were so excited, they almost ruined the surprise 3 times. When Sarah arrived, the children led her to the garden blindfolded. Daniel was waiting, trembling with nerves. When she took off the blindfold and saw the scene, the tears started immediately. Daniel knelt down. Sarah, when I met Jessica, I thought I knew what love was. But I was wrong. Love is not control. It is not manipulation. It is not making someone feel small. He took her hand. Love is what I feel when I am with you. Safety, peace, genuine joy. You are my partner, my equal, my best friend. The kids were screaming excitedly. Would you marry me? Would you let me be part of your family? Would you give me the chance to love you correctly for the rest of my life? Yes. Sarah was crying and laughing at the same time. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. The ring slid on perfectly. The kids ran to hug them. We all applauded, and I, standing next to Patricia, felt my heart could explode with happiness. Your brother found a good one, whispered Patricia. He found the right one, I corrected. There is a difference. The wedding was 6 months later. Small, intimate. In a garden that reminded me of mine, Sarah wore a simple and elegant ivory dress. The kids were ring bearer and flower girl. Daniel cried when he saw her walk toward him. I cried too, but they were tears of pure joy. Without the weight of worry, without the fear that this was another lie. At the reception, Daniel asked me to dance. Do you remember when we danced at my first wedding? He asked while we moved slowly. I remember. I was so blinded that day, so convinced I had found the perfect love. But now you did find it, thanks to you. If you hadn't fought, if you had let me lose myself in that toxic relationship, I never would have arrived here. You arrived here because you did the work, because you healed, because you learned, but you started the process. You saved me. I hugged him while we danced, and I would do it again, 1,000 times. Sarah turned out to be exactly what she had seemed, without hidden agendas, without secret plans, just a good woman who loved my son and wanted to build a family. Sundays became a tradition. The whole family came to my house for lunch. The kids played in my garden. Sarah and I cooked together. Daniel and the cousins watched football. Patricia brought dessert and neighborhood gossip. It was noisy. It was chaotic. It was perfect. One Sunday, while we were washing dishes, Sarah told me something I will never forget. Thank you for accepting me. I know it must be hard after what happened. It is not hard when someone is genuine. I heard the recordings. Daniel showed them to me because he wanted me to know his whole history before committing. I was surprised, and it made me love Daniel more, because he got out of that. He healed, and it made me respect you more, because you fought when many people would have let it happen. I couldn't let her get away with it. And thanks to that, I met Daniel when he was ready for real love. If he were still with her, we never would have had this opportunity. 2 years after that revelation dinner, I received a letter. The The sender froze my blood. Jessica, my first instinct was to throw it away, but curiosity won. I opened it with trembling hands. Eleanor, I do not expect you to read this. I do not expect your forgiveness. I just need to tell you that you were right. About everything. I was manipulative. I was cruel. I was greedy. I lost everything because of my own fault. I lost Daniel. I lost my career. I lost my friendships. I lost my reputation. And I deserved it. I am not writing this seeking pity. I am writing because I have been in therapy for a year and a half, working on why I am like this, where this need to control and take comes from. And I have learned things about myself that shame me. But I have also learned that change is possible. I do not expect you to believe me. I ask nothing of you. I just wanted you to know that I am sorry. Truly. I am sorry for every horrible thing I said, every plan I made, every pain I caused. I am sorry for trying to take from you what your husband left you with love. I am sorry for manipulating your son. I am sorry for being the reason you will probably never completely trust another daughter-in-law. I hope you are happy in your house. I hope Daniel has found peace. And I hope someday you can think of me without feeling anger. Not forgiveness necessarily. Just peace. Jessica. I read the letter 3 times. I felt so many things. Residual rage. Sadness for the lost time. But also something unexpected. Relief. Because Jessica was finally facing her demons. She was finally taking responsibility. It didn't mean I forgave her. It didn't mean I wanted to see her again. But it meant I could close that chapter completely. I showed the letter to Daniel. He read it without expression. Then he folded it carefully. "What do you think?" I asked him. "I think it is too late. And exactly on time. I do not understand. Too late to change what happened. Too late to have a place in my life. But exactly on time for her own healing. And that is fine. She can heal. She just has to do it far away from us. Will you ever be able to forgive her? I do not know. But I don't hate her anymore. And that is enough for now." I burned the letter in my fireplace that night, not with rage, but as a ritual of closure. The ashes rose up the chimney, taking the last vestiges of that dark chapter. The following years brought more joys. Sarah had a baby, a girl they named Mary, after Arthur, Mario. When I held her for the first time, I cried. "It is the first time I hold one of my grandchildren," I told Daniel. "It won't be the last," he promised. And it wasn't. 2 years later, another baby arrived, a boy they named Arthur, my house filled with childish laughter, with scattered toys, with drawings on my refrigerator, with small handprints in my garden, exactly as I had always dreamed. Patricia got sick when I was 70, aggressive cancer that didn't respond to treatment. I spent her last months by her side. "Do not be sad," she told me one afternoon near the end. "We had a beautiful life. I am not ready to lose you. Nobody is ever ready. But you are going to be fine. You are the strongest woman I know. Only because you taught me. No, little sister. You always were. You just needed a reason to show it." She died in peace, surrounded by family. And although it broke my heart, I also felt grateful. Grateful for every moment we had. For her support when I faced Jessica. For her unconditional love. At her funeral, I told the story. Not all the details, but the essence. How Patricia had been by my side when I almost lost everything. How she had given me strength when I felt weak. How she had been more than my sister. She had been my rock. She taught me that family defends itself. I said that true love fights. That it is never too late to be brave. I saw Daniel in the audience crying, Sarah holding his hand. The kids, now teenagers, listening attentively. Little Mary in her mother's arms. Arthur, the baby who was now 3 years old. 4 generations. All because I had refused to give up. All because I had fought for what was mine. Now I am 72 years old. My garden is more beautiful than ever. My roses win awards in local competitions. My house is full of family photos, of happy memories, of real love. Daniel and Sarah live nearby. I see them constantly. The kids come after school to do homework with me. The babies come to play in my garden. Sometimes, when I am alone, I think about that night. About Daniel's toast. About pressing play. About seeing Jessica's face when her world collapsed. I do not feel guilt. I do not feel regret. I feel pride because I defended myself, because I protected what was mine, because I refused to be the victim she wanted me to be. And I feel gratitude for Arthur, who left me the means to buy this house, for Patricia, who gave me strength when I needed it, for Daniel, who eventually woke up and came back to me, for Sarah, who gave me the family I always dreamed of, for every person who stood by my side when I needed it. This house is no longer just bricks and cement. It is a testament, a reminder that it is never too late to fight, that age does not make you weak, that cunning defeats cruelty, that true love always finds its way. Every time I water my roses, I remember. Every time I cook in my kitchen, I celebrate. Every time I sit in my living room, I breathe peace, because this is mine. I earned it, I defended it, and nobody is ever going to take it away from me. Last night, the grandkids stayed over. Mary, now 6 years old, asked me, "Grandma, why do you love this house so much?" Because I had to fight for it, my love. Fight with whom? With someone who wanted to take it from me. And you won. Yes, my darling, I won. Because you are strong, because I had to be. I tucked her into the guest room, the same one Jessica wanted to be my room, where she planned to relegate me. Now it is a space full of toys and laughter, a constant reminder that good things come after battles. I sat in my living room that night, on the same sofa where I once heard threats, where I once felt fear, where I once thought I could lose everything, and I smiled. Because I didn't lose anything. I won everything. I won my dignity. I won my peace. I won my family back. I won my life. Outside, the moon shone over my garden. The roses slept waiting for dawn. The house creaked with those familiar sounds of homes that have been loved. And I, Eleanor, widow of Arthur, mother of Daniel, grandmother of 4, defender of my own destiny, was finally home. Not just in the physical place, but in the deepest sense of the word, in peace, in triumph, in love. After years of pain, manipulation, and battle, I was finally exactly where I belonged, in my house, in my garden, in my life, and nobody, ever again, was going to take it away from me.